Red Dawn has given Soviet forces VDV, airborne infantry. And with the VDV comes their iconic infantry fighting vehicle, the BMD. BMD was an air-transportable infantry fighting vehicle designed to give airborne troops armoured mobility. Now the BMD-1 and BMD-2 are available in Team Yankee. Join me for a look at this new plastic kit from Battlefront. This is TSBX31, the BMD Company box set for Team Yankee. Released as part of the Red Dawn book, the box set contains parts for 5 infantry fighting vehicles. You can build this kit either as the BMD-1 or the BMD-2 version. You also get 9 BMDs in the BMD Air Assault Battalion box set. This is where my example came from. This set is great value and an excellent starting place to build a VDV force. BMD is the primary infantry transport for Soviet airborne forces, the VDV. Similar in function to the BMP, it's smaller and lighter, able to be air-transported or even airdropped by parachute. Weighing in at over 7 tons, this is still a considerable load to drop by parachute, and a rocket deceleration system slows the descent even further just above the ground. Hopefully. BMD-1 is armed with a 73mm smoothbore low-velocity gun mounted in a small turret. There are 3 7.62mm PKT machine guns, 1 coaxial with the main gun and 1 forward firing mounted on each corner of the bow. Anti-tank capability is provided by the AT-3 Saga missile, with a launch rail mounted above the main gun. The vehicle has a crew of 4 men, the driver, commander, gunner, and bow gunner. The commander and bow gunner plus 3 infantrymen in the troop compartment form the dismount group. Just 5 men makes for a small infantry squad for an IFV. BMD's layout is unusual, with most of the crew in the front hull, the gunner in the turret, the troop compartment, and then the engine deck in the rear. Troops mount and dismount the vehicle over the engine deck. To save space and weight, the BMD's interior is very cramped. BMD entered serial production in 1968, equipping 2 airborne regiments in every Soviet airborne division. It was also widely exported and has seen action in Afghanistan, Iraq, Georgia, and Ethiopia. BMD-2 replaced the 73mm gun with a 30mm autocannon, and the Saga missile with the spandrel. BMD-3 and 4 are entirely new designs, not upgrades of this chassis. The BMD hull was also used as the basis for the BTRD, a general-purpose transport and weapons carrier vehicle for airborne forces. If we look at the back of the box, there are 2 images of the completed kit and an exploded assembly diagram. The images show the completed and painted BMD-1 and the BMD-2 variants. The exploded diagram shows just how few parts there are in this simple little kit. It's a lightning-quick build. The turrets are the only difference between the 2 BMD variants. They share a common hull, unlike the BMP, so you can field both. You get all the parts you need to build both turrets. Then it's just a quick swap from one BMD type to the other. The box says you get enough parts to build 5 BMDs and a decal sheet. The decal sheet contains VDV airborne logos. BMD markings are usually simple Soviet tactical numbers, but some units used these VDV markings as well. The box set also contains a hard plastic Soviet commander sprue, but no unit cards. You need to buy the separate Red Dawn unit card pack for that. Let's look at the plastic. BMD comes on a single sprue of medium green plastic. Parts count is quite low, but the detail and mould detail is good, as you'd expect from a modern Battlefront plastic kit. The tracks are one-piece parts, moulded integral with the hull sides. This is an approach Battlefront have taken with several kits now and keeps assembly simple and parts count down. There's plenty of road wheel, track and suspension detail here, with some nice track sag between the last return roller and the drive sprocket. Track detail is pretty simple, but good enough for a wargame kit in this scale. The boat-shaped lower hull piece is keyed so you can't fit the track parts on the wrong way round. The prominent pointed bow really shows you BMD was designed to be amphibious. The upper hull piece has lots of nice detail moulded on, like the troop compartment hatch, engine deck and driver's hatch. Note the hatches either side of the driver's hatch for the commander and bow machine gunner. The two PKT machine gun barrels are moulded on each corner of the forward hull. The mounts aren't fixed, the gunners have limited traverse when firing. Technically one of these should be removed for the BMD too, but I don't think anyone's going to be too picky. The hull rear piece rounds out the hull parts. You can see the cover plates for the two hydrojets that propel BMD through the water. All these hull parts make extensive use of chamfered edges, locating pins and overlapping edges to avoid gaps. This really is a well-designed little kit. Here's the BMD-1 turret, moulded integral with the 73mm gun. Again, moulding these as a single piece really simplifies assembly. Note the slot above the gun. The AT-3B Saga missile part you can see here is moulded integral with its launch rail, and this slots into this opening on the gun. No more fiddling about gluing missiles onto launch rails like the BMP. The other missile here is the AT-5 spandrel launcher for the BMD-2 turret. It has a much smaller pin and socket mount, so take some care mounting this. The turret hatch is moulded open. There's a hatch part here that can be glued in the open or closed position. The BMD-2 turret parts are pretty similar. The turret here is moulded integral with the 30mm cannon. The spandrel missile launcher has a small pin at the bottom that fits into a socket on the top of the turret. The pin and socket could possibly be slightly longer for more positive connection, but it works well enough. Again, there's a hatch that can be posed open or closed, a turret lower piece, and enough turret pegs for both turrets. So that's the parts for the Battlefront BMD plastic kit. To be honest, this kit is a triumph. There are so many thoughtful little tweaks in the kit engineering that just make it an absolute pleasure to build. The chamfered edges push the parts together, and the raised edges hide most of the joins. The parts count is low, so it's quick to build, but there's plenty of detail. Joining surfaces between parts have been simplified and made more durable. I've been building Battlefront plastics since their first, frankly ridiculous, wonky original open-fire Shermans through to this kit. The BMD is really the work of master craftsmen at the top of their game. But don't take my word for it, build one for yourself and see what I mean. So the plastic is fantastic. How will BMD do on the table? Let's look at the BMD-2 transport unit card. This is a tank attachment with the amphibious, infrared, parachute and passengers 2 special rules. Some of these rules are familiar. Teams with infrared roll 2 dice on the night visibility table and take the higher result. This determines how far they can see in the darkness. Amphibious allows the team to treat impassable water obstacles as difficult terrain. Passengers let you know how many infantry stands the BMD can accommodate. In this case, 2 stands. Given the BMD dismount squad was 5 men, that's pretty generous. But in Afghanistan, these were often seen with extra troops piled on top of the vehicle. I guess Battlefront couldn't realistically have an IFV in the game with a carrying capacity of just 1 stand. Parachute is the new rule here. The Special Rules section on page 11 of the Red Dawn book explains the parachute keyword identifies airborne units that can arrive on table by parachute and can be immediately ready for combat. Units with the parachute rule can use parachute deployment as described in the Air Assault rules on Red Dawn page 41 and 42. A list of the other VDV units which can use this deployment method are listed on page 46. Courage, Morale and Remount are all 3+, while Skill, Assault and Counterattack are all 4+. This is for the standard VDV troops. You can take the VDV Afghansi version and get a 3+ skill rating. The veteran Afghansi also get a 4+ to hit rating, but this standard VDV unit is hit on a 3+. Front armour is 2, side and top are 1. BMD is very lightly armoured to keep the weight down. Tactical move is 10 inches or 25 centimetres, with some nice long dash speeds. However, the cross is a 4+. With its narrow tracks, keep BMD out of difficult terrain if you can. The 30mm 2A42 gun has a 20-inch or 50 centimetre range, with a moving rate of fire 2 and halted of 3. Anti-tank is 10 with a 5+ firepower. You're not going to tear up enemy tank formations with the 30mm cannon, but it can take on IFVs and light vehicles. The cannon gets the anti-helicopter and stabilizer special rules. Anti-helicopter means the gun can shoot at helicopters, while stabilizer means the BMD can take a 14-inch or 35 centimetre tactical move and still fire this gun. The cannon does get a +1 to hit penalty if BMD moved more than 10 inches. Note that the stabilizer rule only applies to the 30mm cannon, so if the BMD tactical moves over 10 inches, it can't fire its machine guns, nor can it assault. But keep in mind the 14-inch tactical move is available. You don't have to shoot the 30mm cannon to do it. You can do it all day. It just restricts your ability to fire other weapons and assault. It's easy to forget that when the 10-inch tactical move is what's printed on the unit card. Your anti-tank heavy lifting will be done by the AT-5 Spandrel anti-tank guided missile. Spandrel has a 48-inch or 120 centimetre range, so it can reach out a long way over the table. But be mindful of the minimum range of 8 inches or 20 centimetres. The missile can't guide on close targets. Rate of fire for Spandrel is 1 halted. It can't be fired on the move. Anti-tank is 21, so not bad, but it will struggle against some of the newer super tanks in Team Yankee. Firepower is a 3+. Spandrel gets the guided and heat special rules. Guided means there's no to hit penalty when firing at targets over 16 inches or 40 centimetres range. The rule also means you can't target infantry with Spandrel unless they're stationary in bulletproof cover, so you can't play whack-a-mole with infantry in the open. But don't underestimate Spandrel's ability to dig out entrenched infantry defending an objective. I've had that done to me more than once. I'm looking at you, Ben. Heat means the target's armour value doesn't get the +1 bonus for being over 16 inches away, but heat warheads are affected by applique, bazooka skirts, BDB, Chobham and ERA armour. So now we've seen what they can do. How can we field BMDs? Having a look on the Soviet entry in the online forces builder, you can take the WWIII Air Assault Battalion or the WWIII Air Assault Battalion. Let's look at the standard Air Assault Battalion first. This is a battalion level formation. You have a battalion HQ and 2 compulsory air assault companies. These companies can be equipped with either BMD-1 or BMD-2. The company can have from 4 BMDs and 7 infantry stands up to 10 BMDs and 19 infantry stands. Each company also gets to replace RPG-7s with the improved RPG-7 VR for +2 points. You can add a PKM LMG team and BTRD for 1 point. The same to add an AGS-17 grenade launcher team and up to 2 SA-14 Gremlin AA missile teams, all of which also come with a BTRD transport. You can beef this company up quite a bit here. Because this is a standard VDV company, they're all still hit on 3+. Back to the battalion and you can add a 3rd air assault company if you wish. There are also options to add BM37 and 2S9 mortars, and ASU-85 assault gun, BRDM recon, BTR-RD anti-tank platoon, and even BTR-ZD for anti-aircraft work. Having these as organic options means the Air Assault Battalion can be quite a strong combined arms force, with its own artillery, recon, anti-tank and anti-air assets. Let's look at the WWIII Air Assault. This is listed as a battalion on forces, but it is only a company strength formation. You can see that when you select this option. The formation has a company HQ and 2 compulsory air assault platoons. Each platoon can have 2 or 3 BMDs and 4 to 6 infantry teams. At the platoon level, your options are to take RPG-7VR for +1 point and upgrade to BMD-2 for +1 point for the platoon. All the extras like machine gun, grenade launcher and AA missile teams are options in the company HQ. This might be a company rather than a battalion, but these are seasoned troops. They're hit on a 4+, a rare thing for Soviet troops in Team Yankee. There might be less of them in the formation than regular VDV, but these troops are veterans. You get the same additional options here, like a 3rd Air Assault Platoon, mortars, assault guns, anti-tank and anti-air assets. You do miss out on the BRDM recon option. As a player, it would be up to you to decide if you want a larger formation of VDV troops or a smaller core of more seasoned veterans. Either force has enough organic options to be a well-rounded force on its own. You'll definitely need to save some points for tank support, however. So that's the BMD plastic kit from Battlefront in 15mm. Frankly, Red Dawn is filled with a ton of fun releases and exciting new vehicles for the game, but this little kit is one of the jewels. I liked it more than I thought I would. Red Dawn as a setting and narrative doesn't do it for me, but as a Soviet player, gaining access to airborne forces is a great boost. I have a terrible feeling I'm going to be replacing rather than supplementing my Soviet force. As a plastic kit, this is a great offering. The engineering is superb. It has few parts and goes together easily. The moulding quality is great, and the level of detail is exactly what you need for a 15mm wargaming kit. Perhaps giving BMD the same carrying capacity as a BMP is a stretch. However, I guess they wanted players to field decent-sized VDV forces without dozens of BMDs, one for each infantry squad. However, it does put me in mind of the Keystone Cops, or one of those clown cars where an improbable number of clowns pile out from inside. Heavily armed clowns in this case. And if you spend the extra points for Afghancy VDV, you get to be hit on 4+ instead of 3+ and a 3+ skill rating. A nice option for Soviet players that I think was only available in the T-80 Shock Tank Company previously. But it is a company-size formation rather than a battalion, so fewer actual boots on the ground. Anyway, that's the plastic BMD kit from Battlefront. Are you tempted to make a VDV force? Would you choose standard VDV or a smaller core of veteran Afghancy airborne troops? If so, would you be tempted to use the parachute deployment in Red Dawn's air assault rules? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.